All right, recording is started.
All right, I'm going to let you take over admitting everybody in here. All right. Good morning and happy August. Can you believe it is August already? I say it every dang year, every year. Where did my summer go? You can tell I'm not at home, not in my office today. I'm actually on location at a conference. So I've picked a little corner that I hope is going to be very quiet. And I know that we have Kaila going first on the promotion, but we are actually going to switch that around. We're going to have William go first so that he can get to a meeting. So I am going to go ahead and stop sharing. And I want to tell you just a little bit about how William and I met, I guess. And William and we have TV shows on the same streaming channel, and William is the marketing guru, and I think cameraman maybe as well. I can't remember. Yeah, for Heroes and Horses. And when I saw the episode that they put on, I thought I have got to get them into our AgriStress meeting, because this program, it's located in Montana. It is specific to combat veterans, to get them to go through their journey of healing, find who they are. And William and I talked for a long time on the phone, and like my heart was just bursting with what he went through, because he recently went through the program himself so that he would understand what the veterans are going through. But just, I mean, I love what they are doing. So, William, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away, and you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and then he's going to go ahead and share what Heroes and Horses is.
Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, my name is William. I started with Heroes and Horses back in January as their director of marketing. Um, 8-year Marine Corps veteran, kind of worked in the corporate world for a little while doing like some hunting marketing and some stuff for like KUIU and stuff like that. And then, Heroes and Horses reached out, looking for somebody with a veteran background who was also in marketing to kind of take over, to have that sort of specialty in both those, the veteran mindset as well as a marketing background. So I stepped into that position back in January. And yeah, part of my employment contract was to go through the 41-day program as a student. So I got to step away from work for the full 41 days, and day 1 through 41, they did actually a really good job of letting me step away from my role and actually experience it as a student. So it was pretty awesome. Heroes and Horses is specific to combat veterans. We are based out of just outside Virginia City in southern Montana. It's a 41-day program, 41 days, no hot showers. It's 41 days, an anti-inflammatory, extremely clean diet, physical fitness every day, cold plunges and saunas every day. Basically, what we try to do is give these veterans space, kind of space and detox. There's also 41 days, no cell phone, no outside world influence. Like, you give your phone to the class leaders on day 1 and you don't touch them again. You get to call family on Sundays, and if there's emergencies, you can reach out and like that kind of stuff. But you get your phone 1 hour a week for the full 41 days. So yeah, so it's space from the outside world influence to kind of figure out who you are as an individual, and that really leads to a lot of healing. Part of what we do is we do something called a Maxim Lab. It's like a talk therapy, but it's not super it's very unique to the individual's experience, because we do such small classes. We only do 32 students a year, or per season was what we would call, 8 students per class, 4 classes per year. And that allows us to really hone in on each individual's experience and their struggles and what they're going through. And, for like my personal experience and the guys that I went through, a lot of us had issues with like things like survivor's guilt and like stuff like that. And our class leaders and Micah, our CEO, and basically everyone on the ranch is a mentor, guide, teacher. And they were able to really kind of like hone in on the issues that we were having and help us through that kind of stuff. So I'm going to show a video of Micah, kind of in his words, what hold on just one second. I got to approve this real quick. In his words, what the program is and what you kind of take out of it. Thought we had already done this. Okay, I should be able to screen record now. Are you guys seeing me? My screen?
Yes.
Yes, we see, yeah, your Google screen.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was telling me that I had to do a thing. Okay, so here's a video that Micah did that we did a little while back, and it's kind of in his words what the program is from start to finish.
You know, the Native Americans believe that if you gave somebody a diagnosis, that it was a curse. And I think it is a curse. And I think PTSD, like the way that it's used now, is a curse on veterans. I think it curses them. Curses them with a disease that becomes an identity. Guys come here, what I want to realize is that they're living their own experience. When you realize you're the one creating your own experience, get a hold of those reins. That horse will run, you know, and it will run true to its form. Greetings and welcome to Heroes and Horses. This is the first day of a 41-day long and truthful conversation with yourself. Each one of you has been selected and chosen for a reason. You're not the victim of this life, but rather the victim of your own choices. Truth is found within oneself, but to get to that truth, you have to peel back the layers to who you are. That's why you're here. Today, we have an addiction problem to other people's ideas. We take magic pills or become convinced by grad students on what will fix us or make us happy, just to relieve hurt and make it go away. Running from pain only magnifies the pain. Over the course of the next 41 days, you're going to experience yourself. In the quiet moments, listen and trust that voice that some of you will be hearing for the very first time. Be open to everything and close to nothing. Horses, mountains, environments, the cold, the heat, the mindfulness, your weaknesses, failures, successes, loss, regrets. 41 days to face yourself. Last night, I held each one of your applications and I said a prayer for you as tears streamed down my face. I believe in this group right here, and I'm honored to lead this class. Brothers in arms in another fight. This is the most important and difficult battle you have ever been in. It's the one for the dignity of your human experience and future. Hold on to what is good. Micah. PTSD is very real. It's a very real thing. But what you do next after that experience is your own choice. You know, those experiences serve as reminders for us on our path, which is the hero's journey, right? Where The moment you're getting ready to change and break free, you meet the first dragon on the road to the hero's journey, and he steps out in front of you, and then you find out it's really good.
Yeah, so one thing I probably should have addressed is that Heroes and Horses is a functioning ranch. We have anywhere between 90 to 115 horses on the ranch at all times. We go up to Canada and pull Mustangs out from there. We get some Mustangs out of Wyoming, out of Oregon, places like that, and bring them in. They're not even halter broke, so we go through the whole process. By the time these guys leave our ranch, they can ferry, they can hand almost anywhere. A lot of our guys go and pick up internships at partner ranches and that kind of stuff, or we have an affiliation with MSU, and there's a 4-year horsemanship program where you can get a bachelor's in horsemanship, and they'll head over there and and get an education and go work at different ranches or become ranch managers, cow bosses, whatever they're going to be. So yeah, so a lot of footage that you saw is not staged. We don't bring any cowboys to do that kind of stuff. That's our students doing that stuff. That's our students breaking colts, putting shoes on. We do a couple weeks of horsemanship because these guys have never been on a horse before, most of them at least, and then we throw them on these horses. Well, we don't throw them on these horses. We give them a very tempered and slow experience at first, but by the time they're done, we're 700 miles just about on the horse over the 41 days. Between we'll go hand out at a partner ranch for a week and actually punch cows or push them, pasture to pasture, like that kind of thing. And then we also do 11 days pack trip through a wilderness area. So like for my class, we did I think 125 miles through the Beartooth Wilderness out here in Montana over the 11 days. So yeah, you definitely get some time on the back of a horse and kind of get dialed in on it. But yeah, that's kind of Micah's approach to how it is. It's just the whole, like, society tells us who we're supposed to be, and we're the Instagram, and we know we'll go buy a truck or a car or a shirt or a hat or whatever because we want to create this certain kind of image for people and that's who we want people to think we are, but we really haven't really zoned in or figured out who we are internally without the world telling us who we want to be, I guess. And so it's an opportunity for people to kind of um look at who they want to be as themselves as an individual. So you know uh to share my experience, I 100% left the Marine Corps and wanted to be that cool guy vet, and I did the Black Rifle Coffee stuff, and I in photojournalism I was doing war and conflict correspondence and running all over the world and trying to get into these sketchy situations, but it wasn't even really something I was that interested in. I just wanted to maintain that Instagram feed of doing this cool guy vet stuff. And so, I did that for a long time. And then, through whatever life, Micah reached out and asked me to come out here to Heroes and Horses. Then I come out and, I call it walking amongst giants because I was just this basic infantry guy in the Marine Corps, and I'm surrounded by Green Berets and Navy SEALs and these guys, Clint LaRue, who is, one of our co-founders, was SEAL Team 6. He was on the Bin Laden raid. Like, he's done crazy stuff. And you know, Mike has said you get one day to talk about being a veteran, and then you're no longer that. Like, there's no longer your identity. And we call it that like dog sniffing butts. So like, whenever the new classes come in, they all got to tell their stories and their boot camp stories and all the things. And I would say within 3 to 4 days, that identity kind of drops off and you start figuring out who you want to be post-military. That was just a chapter. That was just a chapter of your life. And, you have to move forward from that. Um, I think I was talking to Carrie about this, about a pretty intense experience that I had it was the very last day of our pack trip. One of the guys was JTAG in the Air Force, which is kind of a a special forces unit in the Air Force, and he had lost some friends, and he was awarded this knife. And so, he asked us to follow him. We did a Maxim lab, as that talk therapy, and then he asked us to follow him to the river, which is what we were camped next to. You always got to find the grass and the water for the horses and the mules. And so we walk into the river, and he tells us the story about how he lost his friends. And he pulls out this knife and says, whatever you're holding on to, whatever you're holding on to, I want you to put it into this knife. And we passed it around, and whatever we were thinking about or whatever nonsense that we were holding on to from the past, we just held the knife and thought about it, and it got back to him. And then he buried that knife in the bedrock of the river right there, on the side of it. And that was an experience on its own, but then that got me to thinking, and I lost a few friends, post service that was all to suicide. And I was that guy who wore that bracelet, that veteran memorial bracelet. I took it off and I looked at it, and honestly, it was always a source of guilt that I felt that I wasn't there for my friends or whatever it was. And I looked at it and I cried for about 20 minutes, and I threw it in the river. And I let go of that. And the thing was, is I thought that everybody was gone. Like I waited for everybody to walk away because I wanted to have this moment. I didn't need a thing. I just was going to have this moment to myself. I turn around and look, and there's 14 guys standing on the riverbank behind me, just bawling their eyes out because they all, you know, they could feel what I went through. No words need to be said. They just kind of felt it. And I would say that's truly when I let go of that, that past identity of who I thought I was. And I was able to open up this opportunity to kind of, I don't know, it was a whole aspect of healing and that kind of stuff. And, and I talked to Mike extensively about it. And that's what allowed me, that experience specifically is what allowed me to go from just a marketing director to now I'm officially like an ass, not officially, but like I'm able to be an asset on the ranch into these guys. And I can actually talk to them about my own experiences now because I'm not holding on to my own stuff. So that was a pretty huge moment for me. Um, yeah, it's crazy. 20-year war, 23-year war. We lost about 7,000 service members in that war, but we've had about 150,000 service members commit suicide from the OIF, OEF war on terror. It doesn't make sense. And it really is, you get out of the military and you go to, some 22-year-old, and that's not to discount what they're doing, but they've known he's a resident who you go to the VA and they tell you, oh, do you have good days? Yeah, I have good days. Do you have days that aren't so good? Yeah, of course I have those days. Do you have days that are really bad? Absolutely, I have days that are really bad. Well, those are signs of PTSD. That's what you have. And then they give you, this list of SSRIs to try to help you, cope with them. And it breeds this victim mindset of like, this is what you are. And so we're really trying to push guys, not push guys, but show guys that that's not who they have to be. I lost 39 pounds over the 41 days, just from the work, right? Just from, walking everywhere, riding horses, doing tack, the physical fitness, the cold plunge, the sauna, all the things. And, it was really eye-opening for me that I wasn't this injured guy. I wasn't that injured veteran anymore, that I still had the ability to like be physical and push my limits and do things. So that was pretty big for me as well. I got one more video I'd like to show, and it breaches into the concepts and the mindsets of the modalities and where we're trying to push these guys. I keep saying push. We're not really trying to push. There is no. We try to not be influential. We just try to give them space. And whenever guys ask us questions, we just try to give them advice as the best we can. But um, our concepts are kind of grounded in this next video. And so I'm gonna give that a show real quick.
Human beings have been sold this insane lie that you have to go out.
Sorry, one second. I'm gonna make it big. Nope, not that one.
Human beings have been sold this insane lie that you have to go outside of yourself to get feelings. We are actually the ones that give feeling to all experience. See, the inside world is what creates the outside world. Combat does not make you sick. PTSD is not a disorder. You were told that you had something that came from where? From the acceptance of the feelings that you placed on an experience, and it grows into a construct, into a mountain. I can look at the mountain and I could say, wow, that's a beautiful mountain. And so it is. Or I can look at it and say, what if we fall off? The rocks fall off, we die. There's bears up there, and then I'm afraid of it. If I can think about an experience and change my whole physiology and become sweaty, diaphoretic, and worried, and scared, and reclusive, and isolating, I can also think about the same experience and feel strong, and courage, and clarity, and wisdom. It is beautiful or it is terrifying, but it's always you. When you realize that every experience is what you need and it's for you, and it's up for you to transmute that from lead, the low mind, low level situation of pain and hurt and heartache, and to turn that into gold. You can take the darkness and turn it into light. You're looking for the next opportunity to create change.
So yeah, the concept behind that is that, you know, we are the ones who kind of we create our experiences. Everything is inside your own head. Everything that you experience starts with a thought or a feeling or an idea. And then your actions is what brings it into the tangible world, right? So, you know, like Micah said, like you look at that mountain and you think, oh, that's beautiful. Like I want to go up there. What's the sun look like from up there? What's the view? And then that motivates you and that makes you want to go to that top of that mountain. But you know, if you look at that mountain, you're thinking like, oh, I could fall off that cliff, or there might be a bear up there somewhere. And now you've manifested fear, and you won't move past that. And this is obviously just a concept with everything in life and all our choices. So yeah, that's kind of the thought process behind that video. So, but yeah, that's Heroes and Horses in a nutshell.
I love this program just because I've had a similar situation, not combat. And William, you and I have talked about this a little bit, and a lot of our audience knows that I'm a survivor of a drunk driver, and it took 4 years of reconstructive surgeries for me to get to a partially disabled status. So one, the PTSD is a big deal. I have survivor's guilt because the person who hit me died on impact. And I've been in that situation for 4 years where I was like, who am I now? Like, how do I change my perspective on how things are going? And I think that's what drew me into your program is I understand how deep your men have to go to get to that point where they say, I now have to figure out who I am since I'm not in the military. I'm not just that vet anymore. What do I do now? Because it's you're lost. It's everything up here. And one thing that I stress to everyone who always, you know, was talking to me, I'm like, you guys are just talking about my physical scars. Like, you don't understand like the mental and emotional scars. I think are even more difficult to work through than like me trying to learn to walk again, or am I going to walk again? And that's what you're teaching them is that, I love what you said in the beginning. It was something to the effect of, if you keep running from the pain, it only makes it worse. So you got to put your head down. You got to work through it no matter how scared you are, because it is the fear of the unknown. Like, I don't know who I am, but through that process, you figure out who you are. And there's something about also the bond when you're with 8 men for 41 days. I know you had told me this, that the bond that you create those men, and you're sharing your most vulnerable, thoughts and feelings. It does bring you that much closer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you were saying, run away from the pain. We learn in two ways, either through awareness or through pain. That's how life teaches us lessons. And so, if you see, stuff that you're dealing with, and you're aware of it, and you course correct, and you consciously try to make changes in your life, that's one way to learn. But if you keep ignoring that and keep ignoring that, then one day you're going to learn through pain. It's like, you smoke cigarettes, a carton of cigarettes a day, and it's not good for you. And then one day the doctor says, well, you got lung cancer. Then now you're going to learn that lesson, but it's going to be the painful way. It's the same concept. Yeah.
Right, right. So in our chat, Cassie had a question, like in one of the videos, it was talking about, not just constantly getting the antidepressants and everything. And she felt like it was a little bit of shaming. We've talked about this. I know the answer to that, like why the VA wants to just throw the SSRIs at them instead of working through it. Do you want to go through a little bit of that, I guess, knowledge that you have of maybe taking a different path and working through this as a journey instead of just taking medicine?
Sure. The thing we teaches radical transparency and honesty. So I was 100% that guy who was injured, and I went to that resident, that college graduate, who, and they were like, oh, this is what you have, these are the medications you need. And I was like, oh, this is what I have, these are the medications I need. And I just started taking all this stuff, and that was the young 24-year-old me. And and I would say that that idea and that mindset is kind of what sent me down, like, maybe this negative path. Not a negative path, but definitely not me living to my potential. And and I think at one point I was on 4 SSRIs and a number of sleeping medications and this and that and everything. And one day I just kind of woke up and I was like, super unhappy with everything. And so I just kind of cut all that out of my life. And then started dealing with this in a healthier way. And then, when you're medically retired, like I am, you have to have annual checkups, biannual checkups, and that kind of stuff. And every time you go to the VA, it's almost like a different doctor, because again, they're residents. So every 18 months you have a new mental health doctor, you have a new doctor almost all the time. And so I went to this new gentleman, and and they're all very nice and they're all trying to help, but he asked me the basic questions that they always ask. And my new diagnosis was that I was manic depressive, that I was bipolar. And he said, you need to start taking lithium capsules. And I'm like, you are crazy. Like, I'm not going to ingest lithium. I'm not doing that. And that was the 34-year-old version of me, who kind of had a little bit of life experience post-military, and I was able to sort of find healthier ways to deal with it. There are medical conditions that people need medication for. And there are definitely they are a good tool to have. The question is how do you use them? Are they a coping? Are you abusing them? Does everything rely on these coping methods? Have you tried to look internally? Have you tried to work within yourself to fix these problems? I want to say holistically, but through your own awareness, for lack of a better word. And then you take that as far as you can. But of course there are certain things, if you're allergic to bees and you get a bee sting, like, and you need that epinephrine pin, like there's no mindset that's going to help you get through that issue. But whenever they had me on Ambien, and kind of what made me stop doing it is I was dealing it with sorry. That was my boss calling me. um, Whenever I was on Ambien, I was using it to cope, and I would take an Ambien, sleep for 10 hours, wake up, take another one, and just fall right back asleep. And and then it turns into exactly what you don't need it to be. It turns into a way to um run and hide from your issues. That's how we kind of look at it. We don't force anybody to make any choices. We do say, hey, why don't you try, not taking that medication while you're here, and see how you feel with the way, we're approaching things. And if you still need it, of course, absolutely, if you feel like you need it, take that. So that's kind of our approach to it. We would never shame or, judge or anybody for anything whatsoever. Truly, everybody's experience is their own. And all we try to do is allow for another perspective and another path potentially. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a couple comments before we switch over to Kaila. So Jane says, I thought this might be about EAP, but it's probably that plus so much more. Horses in nature can be so healing and life affirming. Thank you for sharing your story. And then Carol says, moral injury is an emotional scar. That's, yeah. She says the VA does have some strong programs now through a chaplain service to reconcile and heal those wounds. She said they aren't religious in nature, just led by clinician chaplains. And then she also says that they have started some partnership with some equine therapy programs.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh, here's a testimony. So Bethany says she knows someone who went through the program and lives by it. She is also a Gold Star mom who lives on the other side of this daily. The mental scarring and trauma is what drives us in her nursing career. Moral injury is something in our group that we work on in order to practice fully. So dealing with the trauma is it's a great start. So okay, so Jocelyn says, this speaks to why it's so important to choose a therapist who supports your empowerment versus victimhood.
100%. Yeah. It's unfortunate to say, but the veteran world and even nonprofits, unfortunately, have almost become an industry. There's 60,000 veteran nonprofits or more. And, it's something like a $500 billion a year industry. And, how is it that, the technical number is 22 veterans a day. I'm sure you guys have all heard, uh, you know, that there's 22 veterans a day that commit suicide, but the real number is actually close to like 44 veterans a day. There's these extremely stringent guides and like stipulations that have to be met to be considered a suicide. I mean, I'm not trying to get crass or vulgar, but literally like the knife has to be within 6 inches. There has to be a suicide note. There has to be all these things in order to qualify as a suicide. But there's guys who, choose the path of OD or crash a car or do whatever it is, and those are never quantified. And so, yeah, we're trying to do something, we call it like a nonprofit coalition, a veteran nonprofit coalition, where we're trying to link up with other nonprofits who have a similar approach to healing. Not necessarily our approach, but at least the mindset of, real change, real impact on the veterans. Less so, I guess trying to I'll just say this. I woke up in the hospital from whenever I was injured, and I had 7 Under Armour backpacks embroidered with a veteran nonprofit with all filled with Under Armour underwear and socks and shirts and that kind of stuff. Thousands of dollars of Under Armour stuff sitting there. And then I never heard from them again, and at the time, all those people had, 7-figure salaries. So, we're trying to be the anti that. We're trying to create real situations where people can change. So
awesome. William, we will send out your contact information, but I did see that you put the website in the chat, but could you put either your contact number or whoever they are supposed to contact if they would like to talk to you and maybe work with Heroes and Horses, because we always have a lot of collaboration that goes on afterwards. But you guys, William has to leave shortly for another meeting. So that's why I want to have him put his contact information in the chat. So if you want to talk to him, ASAP while you're on here, you can go ahead and send that over. But William, we thank you for taking your time out and just kind of sharing with this program that I don't think a lot of us know about, that is up in Montana. And I think, it's around the Bozeman area. Is that correct?
Virginia City is about an hour south. We're
Oh.
Southern Virginia. Yeah, our office was out of Belgrade, Bozeman area, but all operations are on the ranch now.
Okay. All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and let William go. And if you have questions for him, feel free to go ahead and email. We will send the recording and his contact information out in the email that comes out usually within 24 hours. So, William, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you and this program.
Yeah, thank you everybody for your time and listening. Thank you, Carrie, for having me. Appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to switch over to Miss Kaila Anderson. Some of you have been with us long enough that you might recognize Kaila and the program that she is going to share with us today. So we believe it's 2 years ago when she first came on to talk to us about LandLogic, and she was brand spanking new at that time with the program, the organization, and we want to go ahead and do an update where she is now with this. And AgriSafe has actually been working with her. They loved her so much. So Kaila, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it over and just give us an update on everything you've been doing.
Thank you. I think I shared it over to present. Can you guys see the screen? I know it's probably got
we're still seeing the back end, not presenter's view.
I'll close that. Slideshow. Oh, from beginning. Okay. There. Does that work?
There we go. Looks good.
Okay. Well, thank you, Carrie, for inviting me back. And I think it was great that he went first and I'm able to follow up. I just love hearing the experiences that he shared. And I think in regards to agricultural behavioral health, it's come so far in the recent years. And it just seems that with horses and equine therapy, and there's so much to be said about nature in the healing, as well as everyone providing different segments of care for speaking to the experiences of individuals. And it's exciting to be a part of. So I am Kaila Anderson. I'm a social worker, and a couple years ago started this idea of creating a content for farmer mental health. And it comes from my background. This is where I grew up, in the background in Northeast Kansas on a 5th generation farm. And it's really comes from my parents' journey through the 1980s farm crisis. And my dad, even while having a separate business, really came to a point of despair in thinking that he would lose the family farm. And that went from one thought, left in isolation over the course of time, FIDS, if you're in the therapy world, creating a scenario where he really felt desperate. And my mom intervened, and she went to 2 people in the community. Who do you think she went to as far as profession?
I would say PCP.
Pastor.
Oh, you guys got it. I don't know who said it. I haven't done Zoom for a while, so I'm not even gonna try to look at people's faces right now, but I'll mess myself up. But primary care physician and pastor. And so we still know that that's a really large statistic. The therapist is usually very late in the game. So communicating with our pastors, our faith leaders, and our doctors is critical to helping this population. So he's doing great now. He allows me to share their story. And, that's just the passion behind this. So that experience and learning more about it, I just wanted to find a way to give back to the agricultural population. And the way that I knew how to do that was through LandLogic and creating that. And so I'm the co-founder. Chad Rezenchek is here. He partnered with me. He heard kind of the idea, and he's got a lot more of the direct client care experience in CBT. And so we partnered together and developed a whole curriculum. So I'll give you a little background, and then we have an exciting new launch of a new training module designed specifically for medical professionals that we'll go into. So in general, what is the LandLogic model? Well, it's an evidence-based program for behavioral health and medical providers to creatively incorporate the land into clinical treatment for our agricultural population. And you might have heard about the land, and what does that look like? Well, it's based foundationally on the agrarian imperative, which is by Dr. Rosman, and some of you may have heard of it. It's out there in a lot of things, but that was my own experience. Before I even heard about the agrarian imperative, I resonated so deeply with that. And so I think it's a foundational description of a common experience within agriculture. Now, that can come from different lenses. It could be you don't want to lose the legacy. You have your fear-based, maybe. The family says you have to be in ag. Like, there's lots of reasons for all this thing, but the idea of protecting the land at all costs is vastly influential in the behaviors and the risk-taking behaviors and thought patterns behind our farmers and their families. So this is my grandma, by the way. I'm going to share, I did not know how to include the video on here, so I'm going to try to play the video. If you cannot hear it, I am just going to paraphrase. But before I go into that, I want to share a little bit about where this video came from. And it's from, it's called Legacy, and Colorado Farm Bureau just released it. So maybe you've heard of it. Chad is in it, and several other people. And it's a powerful 45-minute video. And part of what's mentioned is the CAMP program that Colorado Farm Bureau has put together, designed for residents in Colorado that need that support. They get 6 free sessions with a therapist. And so all of those therapists that have decided to provide or be a part of this CAMP program have, well, we were part of the very initial part. So they've had most of the LandLogic training, and maybe need to just do a follow-up with the rest of it since we've developed a little bit more. So this therapist is well seasoned, she's great, and I just want to share her example of how she incorporated the land in one thing. And it reminds me a lot of William's example of the knife, and just different ways to provide experiences. It's those intangibles sometimes in therapy, the experiences, the knowledge base that now we have, and then the empowerment that can come from that. So I'm going to try, and if it doesn't happen right away, I'll just paraphrase and move forward. So I have to stop. How do I get out of there? Okay, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Can you see this? Can you hear it?
I can't hear it. It doesn't seem like it's playing.
Okay. Okay, I'm clicking resume share. Do you see anything now? Nope.
No, it's just, it's you. It stopped sharing.
Oh, let's try this. Okay. Now can you see example of incorporating the land?
There we go. Yep.
Okay, we're gonna try. If you can't hear it, Carrie, will you raise your hand and then I'll just stop?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, never mind, we won't do that.
Yeah. Sometimes when you share a video, when you hit share, you have to hit optimize video at the bottom because it seemed like it was buffering.
Okay, well, that is fine. So let me go back. Now you can still, oops, sorry, everyone. Okay, you can still see the PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna move forward. Okay, what she had to say is she's a therapist and she had this client in a traditional 60-minute session, and he was feeling like he's in a rut. I'm in a rut. And I don't know his presenting concerns or what he was thinking, but he had all this land. And so she just said, okay, well, go sit in a rut. But for the next session, I want you to go sit in a rut. I just want you to observe, take time and observe what's around you. and then we'll come back and process it. And so he did. He was willing. He looked at her like she was kind of crazy, but he did. And she describes it as that was the most profound thing for him, because he was able to feel like he was in a rut, but he was able to see his exit down the way. And so what was most influential was that he realized that this time would pass. And at some point, this challenge, whatever that was, would pass, because he knows that he can see an out later down the road. And so the power of creating experiences, especially on somebody's own land that they have a background with, that they have emotional connection with, whether that be positive or negative, is something that can go in that Rolodex back there and be brought up again. So it's creating these memories and experiences that don't have to be limited by the bounds of a clinician wall. And then it's also optimizing what they value. So that's good. We know that from therapy research. And it's using their sense of place, their belonging, where they're from, who they are. And so these intangibles can create, when we listen, when we know what we're listening for and what a farmer or somebody struggling is saying, we can, as a therapist, as behavioral health professionals, medical professionals, create and work together to develop, to some extent, their own healing journey. And so that's just one example. So that's the background of LandLogic. So what we did is we created a 3-hour training that over the course of the last year and a half, we have put out there, Chad and I. And this is old data from about 6 or 8 months ago. Chad has done a few more trainings, and so we're compiling new data. I think I could be wrong, and he might have exact numbers he can share later, but I think it's around 200 behavioral health providers largely. And here's what we found with the help of Dr. Michelle Grokey from Montana State University, is that even though some of us are in ag backgrounds, 126 had never even heard of the agrarian imperative and the influence of that in thinking patterns. So that was good to know that just going through the training, they could understand more of what this lifestyle means. Of those who have been in the profession for 7+ years, 96 said that they would be able to apply the training into their practice. I like that because it means that it has some relevance, and it's not just old regurgitated training that I was hoping that that wouldn't be the case. When asked how applicable the training was, 97% said that they would be able to apply it into their practice, and 100% who have mostly agricultural-based clients said that they would absolutely be able to apply it to their training. So those are some of the statistics from there, but that is great for the behavioral health licensed provider side of it. We still have that training going on, but what do you do for the medical professional? Because they are strapped for time. They have quotas that they have to meet. They're in demand. They've got 10 or 15 minutes for clients. There's no time, and this is not therapy. This is not traditional therapy yet. When a farmer presents with angina or stress or drinking or whatever, and a spouse hands a note, this is a real scenario, hands a note and says, please ask him about this stuff. What does that provider do? What can you do when they're trusting you with that information and there are so many odds and barriers? So we've taken time to develop a training that can shortens LandLogic into its main points, shares a little bit about the agrarian imperative, but then how do you apply these into brief interventions that take 5 minutes or less, that could be used in a medical setting for the doctors or the social workers that are even out in the waiting room with some of these images, et cetera. So we also had to figure out, how do you provide that training in a way that's user-friendly for them, and they aren't able to get away from their office very quickly or easily. So on demand, and always have it connected to CME. So this was just launched, Agricultural Behavioral Health brief interventions within a medical setting. Here are the learning objectives. And I want to shout out to Sarah Gideon, who's on here with the Health Innovation Network of Kansas, who funded the project. Eternally grateful for her and her grace and time to get this done. It is a 1.5 AAFP CME course that they have an automatic downloaded CME certificate from. And it's housed at the University of Colorado's Family Medicine Residency website. So here's just briefly how you can go to it. It's cuelearning.org. This is the module, the beginning of kind of how it looks. So I thought I'd share that. Let's see. Here's the main page, cuelearning.org. It is free, and you do have to have a code word. So if you're new, you just go up to register. If you want to share it with any doctors that you may know of, or AAPs, nurse practitioners. When you create your account right here, you're going to use the word legacy, and it is case sensitive, so capital L. You apply the code and you're in. Once you get in, this is what it should look like, and you can just take it. The nice part is you can leave it and come back to it if something happens and you got to leave. And so that is all I have. If there's any questions about it, Chad, Sarah, and I can speak to that. Here's my email if you have any questions, and I will stop sharing and see what I'm missing here.
Kaila, what was that website that you were just at?
cuelearning.org. And so the hope here is that it probably will be promoted through the AHEC, or the Area Health Education groups, and doctors can take it, medical professionals, if they feel like it represents their population. And then we have a really robust behavioral health portion of the training, and then, you know, dispersing this information. And there's a workbook that has been developed with images that are ag-based. It's really a cultural adaptation to cognitive behavioral therapy. And so that's where we're at, and we can compile all that and hopefully have a journal or just have some database for it after that.
Kaila, Andy wants to know if you can share just a brief overview of the two non-drug interventions.
Yes. So one is, and it goes into this in the training, one is it sounds simple, but it's drawing or taking a picture or looking at the GPS Google thing of the land and saying, hey, you know, I know you're really stressed out. Can we look at your land, and you can tell me where you feel the most stressed at any point during your day or during harvest or whatever season they're in, what might be going on. Could also say, you know, where's one of the places where you find peace. And what this is all based on is, let's see, 100 direct farmers and ranchers and feedback from people of agriculture. When I went out and kind of did like we went out and did kind of we presented at conferences directly to farmers and gathered their feedback. Like, what do you think of this? And here's an exercise, blah, blah, blah. So we compiled all that data, and 96% of them said that they loved it and just loved the project and the idea. And we did this exercise with him. And for an example, one guy, it's really quick. Like, where do you find peace? Well, the junkyard. And again, it's not about my experiences. I may have anxiety, and the junkyard would stress me out, right? My opinion matters not. And the person in front of you does. And so he said the junkyard because that's the only area where I get to free think. Everywhere else has an expectation of me. I thought that is amazing. So what if in the next time, because who knows when they're coming back because of life demands, go out there and just spend 10 minutes and just be, just like what she described in that video, just like what he described with intentionality. So if the farm can create so much stress, the inverse should be true as well. It can promote healing too. And so it's really sometimes not that complex. It's just knowing, it's listening for it. It is honing in on what the person in front of you how they perceive the land and how they're coming at it to know how to develop some tailored learning experiences for them. The second one is a workbook that Chad and I developed. It's barbed wire thinking, and it takes 10 cognitive, there's 10 common cognitive distortions like Heaven's fallacy, toxic grit, and things. And we've designed with a graphic designer, have developed images that are agricultural based that seem to resonate with a person. And they're open-ended, they're designed that way. They're intended to promote conversation. So one of them is toxic grit, if you're in there, and it has holding barbed wire fence. One hand has a glove on, the other does not. And, you know, it's, what do you see? How would you fix this picture? Well, he needs to put on his glove. Okay, well, how does that relate to your scenario? What glove do you need to put on related to whatever's going on in front of you? It just opens dialogue, and they get access to this whole workbook. It goes through everything. You can read it, and it explains a lot more. It tells you what to listen for, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, common sayings that are in agriculture to listen for if you're new to it. So those are a couple of examples.
I love it. I love it. So they did have a question. Can anybody join that website, or do you have to be like a medical professional?
Anyone can take it. The CME is only for doctors. A lot of other CEU type things with social workers, et-cetera, a lot of it's kind of on your own recording of that. So you can probably use it, but it's open to anyone. It does have a pull down, and we try to figure out who's medical, who's behavioral health, who's coming from an outside agency, whatever. And just know you're going to have a language of medical in there. And what else? Yeah, it's open.
All right. I have shared quite a few links in the chat. And for anybody who's like, I can't find them or I don't have time right now, we will definitely send all of those out in the email that you'll receive within 24 hours. I say it a lot, but I love the collaboration that comes from this group. So by having Kaila on, AgriSafe loved her, and then you were able to collaborate with Chad on this, I mean, wonderful, you know, program and process and film and everything. And I love that everybody is like this here. We just get to work together so that we can all get to that goal of helping everyone with, you know, their emotional status, and just trying to stop the stigma and let people give themselves permission to get help. And I think that's a big deal, that we just don't think that we have the permission. We don't feel like we have the strength a lot of times, because asking for help is weak in the agri culture industry. And I just absolutely, I love it. And I love that you were able to come back today and just give us an update about everything that's been going on. And we love your progress, and we hope that you continue.
Yeah, can I share one more thing? Thank you, Carrie.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The behavioral health 3-hour training, Chad and I go out and do those live. We can do those virtually. That is designed, that goes through case vignettes, that goes through CBT worksheets that are more in depth. But there's really 2 training programs, one in depth for a licensed behavioral health provider, and then the medical side. So don't think that what you see on this training is it. There's links to go to more and reach out to us if you're interested in having more training opportunities.
I love that. I love that. I love that you're going back to live as well. So you guys, if you want to contact Kaila, I did put her email and like website address in there, but look for that email that will come to you with the recording, and then both speakers contact information. We're getting really close to ending time. So we want to have actually a little plug, because AgriSafe is having our farm safety week in September, and we just want to kind of get that on your calendars. So I'm going to have Laura share that real quick, the dates and the website so that you can start to get prepared.
Yes, thank you, Carrie. So yeah, National Farm Safety and Health Week will be taking place the third week of September. The theme is Don't Learn Safety by Accident, focusing on preventable incidents, and the daily themes are equipment and rural roadway safety, health and wellness, generations of farming, confined spaces, and reporting agricultural injuries. They're all free. We'll have 11 free webinars. There will be live Spanish interpretation available. I'll drop the link in the chat in just a second, but you can sign up for it through Eventbrite. And what's good about this platform is basically you can select it, and then just if you do it on your browser, it'll let you auto load the information, so you don't have to fill it out each time for each webinar. So I'll go ahead and post this link in the chat for y'all if you're interested, and look into any of those free webinars. And that's all I had to share. So thanks for listening.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Laura. All right, guys, that is it for today. We're going to see you next month in September to kick off our fall season of meetings. So we'll see you then. Thank you guys so much for attending. And just a joy to see you each month. Thank you.